mistakes alone, you also feel like a fool? Nobody, you know, like at home, like you cook something and it burns or something like that?
Nobody sees me, like, nobody saw me.
Exactly, nobody sees it. So what's the difference?
What other people will think about me?
Not just will think about me. Try to think when you made a mistake, what happened in your surroundings. How did people treat you? And we do that ourselves also. It is as if our ego is waiting for others to make mistakes so we can vomit all our frustration on them. Has it ever happened to you? Yeah. And we do it to others also. The anger, the frustration that we hold in us, when finally somebody comes, it's justified to let it out. And they get it all. I saw that in me at one point, because somebody it's many years ago, so it doesn't happen anymore, so you don't have to be afraid to do things for me. So it was somebody I had a problem with. I just didn't like the person, you know, and I tried and I sent love and opened my heart, but she was really getting on my nerves. And nothing worked to open up my heart towards her, and we had to work together. So she forgot to make photocopies. That was still the time when we couldn't just send it to everybody's phone like this. She forgot to make photocopies that I needed the day after, not even today. And she comes already frightened, kind of, it was in Tushita, so we have to go down to the village to make the photocopies, not just to the copier. And yeah. Oh, so sorry, I kind of forgot to make the copies. I felt the anger arising, but thanks to these quite a few years of practice, when I said, now I see my anger arising, I saw it, and in my head was going, what are you doing? She forgot to make the photocopies, you need them tomorrow. And the whole anger disappeared, but I was about to kind of, yeah, and you forgot this and that, and all the other mistakes, but I didn't say anything. And like a miracle, my aversion for her finished. She didn't get on my nerves anymore. That was, I tell you, these are points when I think, these methods, they're amazing. They really work. Okay, so then my aversion towards her gone, I said, yeah, it's okay, no problem. I mean, she looked at me like this. And then for 2 years, she still didn't trust me until we became friends. Now we're friends, okay? But it took her time to trust me that I didn't dislike her anymore. That she didn't have to be perfect, so I would at least not shout at her. Yeah, so it's good to see it in ourselves, yeah? And also when it happens to you, when other people do it to you, because especially in this country, my gosh, it's so difficult. Like, he makes a mistake and he shouts at me. Or he cheats me and I go and say something without any anger, just pointing it out, and he starts insulting me in the market. So I said, excuse me, why are you angry at me? You made the mistake, or it was his wife. You make the mistake, I'm just pointing it out, I'm just coming to ask, do you think this is correct? I'm not even angry, why are you angry at me? Where are you from? From Germany? Switzerland is not better because the Swiss kept the money in their banks, you know, the Jews. People also, you know, I could feel bad about this. I think it's totally wrong, but I wasn't born at that time. I didn't live then yet. I don't think it's right what they did. And I know that I benefit from this now. That's why Switzerland is so well off, because our banks were so rotten. Now the Swiss Credit Suisse, I don't know if you saw it, you know, now they have to take money from the Saudi Arabians to be able to survive. There you go, the boomerang that is coming back. Yeah, of course. I think it's a good thing what is happening. Why? Because my money is not in their bank. I mean, that's how it is. If my money would be in their bank, I would have probably pulled it out and put it somewhere else. Who knows? Yeah, so this is when somebody else makes a mistake. This is why it's so difficult. I think that's probably the most difficult thing, the most difficult condition to admit mistakes, because we put ourselves totally in the power of other people, and it seems to be justified that somebody can get angry at you when you say, oh, I made the mistake. So you need a lot of courage to admit mistakes. But then immediately the situation calms down, by the way. It's really helpful. And people are happy when you're honest, instead of having to look, in all the past emails from the last 3 years where it started. Yeah? So this is another good antidote for arrogance, to say, I made the mistake. I mean, Mahayana Buddhists, they go to the extreme to take the blame, even they did not make the mistake, as a practice, so that somebody else is protected. You would do that for your children, no problem, wouldn't you? Like you have a very violent husband or wife, one of the kids broke something, he or she comes, who broke it? And you say, you're either father or mother, you say, I did, in order for the kid not to get the anger of the violent. We can do this when we have love and interest without any problem, getting all the blame, when there's love. You wouldn't say, again there, you wouldn't say, he did it. You would never do that when you know the consequences that come from it. Because it's attachment. My child, I don't want him, but in the workplace, he did. Yeah. Okay, then the sixth one is pride that has gone totally wrong. Meaning we think to have qualities on a level where we have absolutely none, or are proud about faults that we have. I think I'm generous but never give anything. I think I'm compassionate but I'm not interested in others. I believe that I'm open to criticism but never ask for it or get defensive when it comes. I think that I'm a great listener but never listen. We all know people like this, because there's this big smile on your face now. Can you imagine that somebody thinking of you? That you are that one? Ooh, not so sure. Come on, we're not like this. Or to be proud about your success, even though you created a lot of negativities getting there. These people are very selfish, look upon this as a quality, hiding behind bodhicitta motivation. Well, your maybe future Prime Minister doesn't have bodhicitta, but he definitely thinks that he definitely doesn't think about the negativities, I don't think so. But there are people hiding behind the bodhicitta motivation in spiritual communities, by the way. So be careful that it doesn't become you. It's very easy to do. As a bodhisattva, if you think it's beneficial, or when we talked about anger, if you think it's beneficial, you're actually not only allowed to do this, but you're asked to do negativities of body or speech, never the mind, but body or speech. But that's very dangerous if your motivation is not cured, because then you get all the negative karma. And some of the negative karma you get anyway. Yeah. So, or a very violent pacifist, constantly at war with the ones who have different opinions, can also be. Such moments of pride befall us from time to time when we are proud and happy to have tricked somebody in believing a lie, or used our intelligence to put somebody down or humiliate them. Then the last one is smartness. This is in connection with the assumption that these five aggregates are the I, like this whole thing together here. We identify with them with our looks, our mental abilities. Yeah, this is, have you never felt kind of superior to somebody who is maybe not as well instructed as you are? It comes very naturally. Yeah, so we have to be careful of that. You see, the problem with arrogance is it feels good. Makes us feel good. That's the problem. And they say it's the last of the delusions to go, because it feels so good. Yeah. As long as nobody discovers how you really are. And as long as you are able to upkeep the lie to yourself. We identify with these five aggregates with our looks, our mental abilities. We look at ourselves in the mirror and do not see the reality of the body, of flesh, bones, organs, etc., but think, wow, I am so beautiful. We find a lot of joy in our beautiful voice, our intelligence, show them off. We think of these things as having acquired them ourselves. The body is from your parents. The intelligence, you trained it by going to universities, schools. Maybe you trained yourself through kind of tutoring with the YouTube, whatever. But then we appropriate this as my knowledge, isn't it? Very quickly. Very, very quickly. How many times do you think about your teacher who taught you how to read and write? With gratitude when you read something that really helps you and you can show off to others how intelligent you are. How many times? Without that person, we wouldn't be able to read. Do you ever think of that person? No. And think of her now or him and say thank you in your heart. Wow. So even if he or she was horrible, doesn't matter. Their job is to teach you how to read. They did. You can read. They did a good job. And then the rest, you're grown-ups now. You're not kids. The rest we let go. It's fine. Unless they do something, abuse you and like this, then of course you have to say something. Yeah, they shouldn't be teachers. Okay, then it becomes terrible so if you identify with the body and you're very proud of your body, which there's a huge body culture also here in Israel, like, gyms and sports and keeping fit and all this, and yeah, it makes you feel good when you're good at sports. I know. But then, when you do sports, be aware that as you get older, you won't be able to do it. So that you're not having the jogging, isn't it? So then, you're not having your whole happiness coming from that action. When you feel that you can't go jog or, surf or whatever, ski, when you can't go and you feel that something is lacking, be careful, because the moment will come, if you don't die early enough, the body doesn't allow to do it anymore. And then you feel like my dad, because that's thanks to him that I was such a good skier, because I was maybe 3 years old or something. He was missing being able to go skiing, and he would put on his skis, and he looked like an idiot because he was so stiff. He was 70 or 80 years old or something, and he fell, and it was like there was no joy, but he could not live without it, because that was his, football. He was a good football player and a good skier. So that was his source of happiness. So be careful when you find your happiness in your body. Be aware that your body will fade away. Beauty, fitness, intelligence. Wow. So many old people are depressed because they lose their brain. Yeah? They find life is not worthwhile living anymore. There's so many things you can enjoy through the senses. So be aware, be careful. That you can be a happy old person that people will want to come and visit. Not always complaining all the time, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that anymore, I can't do this anymore. Then who wants to come visit? Then you get lonely. Yeah. Show them how to be happy without having these qualities. And then you become their source of values and inspiration. Put some effort into having a good heart. The good heart stays. Doesn't matter if your brain goes. Yeah. That will be your old age pension. That is solid. A good heart. Kindness. Having trained patience. Oh, you need so much patience when you're old. Okay. So then it becomes horrible if our beauty fails, the memory lessens, the voice gets brittle. One will put a lot of effort into turning the wheel of time backward without success. A lot of money is being earned by this because people don't want to accept their old age. So we have to be careful not to identify with the qualities that will fail us with time. It is so important to find access to basic goodness and qualities of our mind, being human, and to put our self-worth on that without pride, without arrogance. So when you were thinking this morning in the meditation, I am a good person, without comparing with anybody, without ifs, without buts, How was that? How was it?
Nice.
Huh?
It was nice.
Yeah. It was nice. That's good enough. It's a good feeling. Openness, spaciousness. You come in contact with the nature of your mind, which is spaciousness. And when we start to believe that I'm a good person, we will be good people. Because when it feels nice, our heart is open. And when your heart is open and you feel happy, or nice is enough. When you feel it's nice, you're not falling into the trap of anger and attachment and all this. It's not important that the food is not exactly as you wanted it to be. Oh, and by lo and behold, that the coffee is not exactly what you ordered at the coffee shop. How many of you have worked at the coffee shop? Nobody. You should go. Yeah? I mean, there's 4 people. Each one wants something different. You know, milk hot, not too hot, soy milk, almond milk, cow milk, lots of foam, not much foam, blah, 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 listen. She has to keep that in her head. Well, now they have computers, and it goes directly to the barista. But before, she had to convey this to the barista. Then she had to remember who wanted which coffee. You come here, you take the coffee pots and you put 1 spoonful of hot water. It's good enough. Why? Because your mind is happy when you're here. If you're in the coffee shop, you look for more happiness because you pay for it. Then this poor waitress is responsible for your happiness, and she can totally spoil it by putting oat milk instead of almond milk. But that's how it is, isn't it? So please, next time you order coffee, you say just whatever is convenient for you. Because then you won't have any expectations. And then whatever you get, you go, oh, it's not so bad. And then you're happy. Oh, you know, I see people in Tel Aviv queuing up in coffee shops, and the coffee shop next to it is empty, and they wait half an hour to get a table. I just saw there's a new thing opened which is called Pasta and Puff or something like that. Pasta and Puff, P-U-F-F. It's before this one, Kikar Rabin, when you come through this Masaryk Square. I passed it like last Friday. It looks like really expensive. I don't know how good the coffee is, but definitely to be seen there seems to be maybe a good thing. But people queuing up with their babies in their arms, I thought, like, come on. I mean, these babies, go play with them. What do you? Because two steps further down, there's another coffee shop where there's no queue. We have gone totally off. So next time you find yourself queuing up, try to find another place where it's not such good business. Maybe the coffee is not so good, yeah, okay, but it's just coffee. And then think, oh, I'm going to give them some business. Those other ones where you have to queue up, they don't need you. They don't need your money, they have enough. But try to go to restaurants that are empty. Then you have space. You know, you don't have to scream at each other because everybody talks at the top of their voice. You don't have to wait so long. You can be kind to the waitress. She has time to see your kindness. I always go to restaurants that either I know the people who work there, I go to visit them, or I go to somewhere where it's empty. Like this Yael Cafe, when I came 3 years ago, it was new, it was always empty. Now it's always full, I don't go anymore. They don't need me anymore. It's so nice to go to such a place thinking I'm going to give them business. They put up this shop, so I'm going to give them business. Then it's not attachment, then it's good intention. You might even create some positive karma by drinking coffee. And I tell you, your mind is happy, it doesn't matter what coffee it is. And if you think, coffee is not good, then think about the coffee you have here. 1 spoon of coffee pots, hot water, good enough. I see we also have a lot of choice in the milks, isn't it? This milk, that milk. Okay. Yeah, so we have to have self-worth where we always have access to. If you can tell a dying person or an old person also who don't have access anymore to their goodness of heart, and you can just say, you were so important for me in this life, I'm so grateful to you. I tell you, it's the best medicine you can give them. Yeah? Even if it's not totally true. Yeah, it can be, you were very important to me. You don't say, as my object of patience, you don't say that. That would be cruel. Yeah, but they are important for us, even if they're impossible, because then they become our object of patience. And it's really soothing when somebody says that. Yeah. And you can calm them down by saying, wow, you know, now you have to go, but it was so nice that we made this stretch of path together. Yeah. So, you know, this goodness of heart, they don't belong to anybody. We share that with everybody. If some people just don't have access to it. Some people have grown up in terrible circumstances that it was difficult for them to show it, or they're afraid. You know, this is also, very often we are ashamed to be kind. We think, oh, maybe they don't want the help, or maybe they don't like me, or maybe I don't know what to do. Yeah, so often we have an instinct wanting to help, but then something is holding us back. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah. So again, try small, you know, and if somebody refuses it, it's fine. You try. You can try. So other aspects of pride can protect us from trifle affairs of this life. We do not get so upset anymore. We are very high up the world down there. It gives us a certain stability as we are only concentrated on ourselves, and we find our self-confidence there. Can give us a deceptive security when dealing with others. When this gets shaky, then all this starts to shake. Real proud people do not care about the opinion of others. The only thing that counts is their view. It is an armor that protects but also limits. When it collapses, the person collapses. Arrogance very often paired with low self-esteem. Arrogant people always need witnesses. They need to be told. So we're all like that. Or have you ever been able to cook a meal for somebody, not somebody that you cook for every day, but let's say you invite somebody, you cook a meal for them, they eat it without saying anything. Are you able to restrain yourself from asking, do you like it? No. We see them eating with a lot of pleasure, but no, we need to hear. It's delicious. So please, don't make people ask the question, just say it yourself. So then they are happy. If it's really no good, then there's something wrong with your karma, not with the food, because they obviously like it. Yeah. So a bit like this, you know, to be considerate about others. So pride or arrogance gives us a feeling of richness and fullness, but from time to time doubts arise. They are seen as failure and very often then ignored. The doubt. We don't want to doubt our supremacy. So pride rejects the inner work because you don't want to look inside. It cannot accept help. The ideas have to be my own. Only then they can be valid and good. You cannot tell anything to a proud person. They like to surround themselves with people who look up to them and are obeying. They never question themselves. A few qualities is and are enough for them to build the tower. They do not want to look deep as there lurks the doubt, and that creates fear. You know, when I came to Israel at the beginning, I thought Israelis are really, really, really arrogant. That was what I had the most problem with, I think, with this arrogance of disdaining other people or other things like that. 2 years later, I saw that that was my arrogance of being humble and open and this, and you know, kind of not always wanting the best, and this is due to me, and what's it called, Mageli or whatever, you know. That was my arrogance. I thought, oh my gosh. And now I see their arrogance, not yours because you're not, but I see their arrogance. It makes me laugh. I think, gosh, you know, poor guys. I don't know if you notice it, how sometimes, you know, how sometimes Israelis, not just Israelis also, but it's one of the national delusions a bit, how they can be totally disdainful of other nationalities or other people, or people who do, you know, if you work in a coffee shop, you will feel it. You know, how they order you around just because they pay, or in another shop. If you're a person of service, wow, you know, because that seems to be normal. So try to spread some goodness and kindness and say thank you and talk to people, you know. Because they're doing these low jobs for very little money so that your life can be so comfortable. So why would you look down on them? Yeah. Well, everybody likes to be thanked and likes kindness. And it doesn't chip off any of your crown if you say thank you. It's okay. Yeah? Can you make this a habit also, not to be so demanding? Like at one point also somebody sent me shopping and she said, well, when you buy the cheese there, tell him to cut off the first slice because that might be a bit dry. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this, you know. I buy whatever people give me. If you want this, you have to go yourself. I'm also not kind of picking out the nicest and the freshest and whatever. It's fine if you want to do that, but I'm not. I would feel embarrassed. I would feel ashamed. So I hardly ever get disappointed when I come home and I feel that there is a contaminated apple or something that is already rotten. It's okay, I throw it away. What's the big deal? You know? But again, you know, just this thing. You go and buy something as simple as vegetables. Yeah? Just look at the mind who is picking them out. And if the vendor puts it in your bag and you see that one of them out of 20, one small tomato, you know, these little ones, is rotten, see your reaction. Oh, they cheated me. Now, as a bodhisattva, you think, oh, good thing that he gave it to me because I'm not getting angry. Yeah, somebody has to buy it. Somebody has to pay the price because even the tomato is rotten. The one who grows it has to pay the full price to have a good tomato. And then it gets rotten with time. So you can be the one to buy the not freshest things. Because then much less gets thrown away also. Everybody complains about food waste, right? So, but we contribute to that because it has to be spotless, the freshest, the best. So like this. Where were we? The ability to see one's own weakness is lacking. Pride collapses when we see our faults, and that is the best antidote to pride, to see and be able to admit one's faults. That dissolves the pride. It's so relaxing. So I'm really happy that I have always you as an audience when I can tell you all my shortcomings. It's so liberating. It really is. So thank you very much for being my confession box. Because yeah, it's like then you don't have to hide anymore. So maybe we just continue a little bit. So a proud person has friends, but he's not open towards them. He will use them for his goals. If they're not useful anymore, he will get rid of them in order to be able to climb up higher. You can see that in workplaces, isn't it? It's very painful. You know, when they just leave you behind, and even maybe what they learn from you. I mean, I know people that their work has been taken away from them by somebody else, presented as their work, and then they go up the ladder. I see people nodding. It's very painful. Yeah, karma. So don't do it. It's not good. Don't go like this. But yeah, if you want to have a big career, don't study these things because you will feel embarrassed.